Biden is coming off of his big COVID aid bill. What's the follow-up to that? Apparently, supposedly, maybe, tax hikes, actually. Bloomberg is reporting that Biden is planning, quote, the first major federal tax hike since 1993 in order to fund a long-term economic program designed to be the follow-up to his COVID relief bill. So we will talk about a lot of elements of this, including whether we're buying any of it, but supposedly, according to the reporting, some of the measures that are being considered that would raise taxes are things like raising the corporate income tax rate to 28% from 21%, which is notably not where it was at before it was cut. Anyway, lifting the top tax rate to 39.6% from 37%. Well, don't kill him. Don't kill him, Biden. A whole 2%. Woo! He's a radical, baby. Anyway, taxing capital gains as ordinary income at a top tax rate of 39.6% for those earning more than $1 million a year, and hiking the estate tax rate to 45% from 40% for assets worth more than 1 million. So we're gonna get into the response from the right to some of these things. Spoiler alert, they think they're more radical than methinks they are. But anyway, Ben, what do you think about some of the things they're discussing as possibilities?
You know, it is the response from the right is going to be like clockwork. This is going to be Marxism to them, socialism, communism, Maoism. But these are just like minor changes. I do like the taxing capital gains like we tax income, which has been like a long-standing advantage that capital has had over labor forever in this country. And this is one of those things, like seriously, if they really think they're gonna get this done, they're gonna have to look at some structural changes in the Senate to even consider this.
Yeah, and notably taxing it as ordinary income, but only for people who make more than $1 million. So in theory, if you're working class or middle class, you can invest and still get the tax incentives. It's probably not gonna happen because the rich possess more than 90% of all the stocks in the country. But in theory, if you ever had money to do that, there would be a tax incentive to doing so. Now, some of the other things that are being discussed are more in the area of tax credits. A lot of it gets super specific and technical. We're not going in at that depth. We've done many videos about Biden's proposed tax plans in the past. But as a reminder, it includes things like temporarily increasing the child tax credit, expanding the child care credit, and fairly significantly so. For kids that are fairly young, it could take care of half or more of child care expenses. Forgiving student loan debt and excluding the forgiven amount from taxation. I believe as part of the COVID bill, actually, up until 2025, any amount that's forgiven is not going to be taxed, which is important because that would still be a tax. You'd still be paying for it. The issue with that is, every time I now see a reference, Ben, to them forgiving student loan debt, I just get angry because he could do it today. He could have done it yesterday. Saturday would have been great, and he didn't. So at a certain point, stop talking about things that you could have done that you haven't done. I'm not interested at some point. You excited me a little bit when you said that you were in support of it. Now it's just annoying to hear you talk about a thing that you clearly have little interest in actually doing.
Yeah, and it's just every time I hear it, it just reminds me how much this country is okay with saddling us with those economic change, right? Because if the president of the United States could do this, that would be one of the greatest economic stimulus packages this country has ever seen. But they are more committed to the bondage of debt than they are economic stimulus, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, and look, whenever we get really critical of Biden, there's some people who think that we're being unfair or that we're jumping the gun. I mean, after all, he's only been president for a couple months or whatever. But again, why hasn't he done it? Like, okay, why hasn't he passed the Green New Deal? I get it, he's only been president for a little bit. But he could write up a little piece of paper and he could do his little signature. He wouldn't even have to answer questions from the press or anything. And he could cancel student loan debt. And he hasn't done it. And I would love to know, why hasn't the press asked the press secretary that? He said he would do it, he can do it, he hasn't done it. Why hasn't he done it? Seems like a simple question, nobody's asking it, so we don't get any answers. And it seems consequential, as Ben pointed out, like that is one of the biggest forms of debt that's out there. And not equally distributed, by the way. Many of the people who are economically worst off also are worst off in that area. and yet they're not doing it. I get the feeling at some point, Ben, that it's like, pointing out that the checks are supposed to be $2,000. People just get annoyed when you remind them of things that suck, but I would love an answer personally.
Yeah, I would too, because I definitely get calls from Sally Mae to this day.
Now,
they changed her name, but whatever she's called now.
That's true. Yeah, I think it starts with an A. I forget. But anyway, in addition, a lot of this is feeling to me like a football is being held out, and I'm thinking this time I'm really gonna kick it, and I'm probably not, because we'll see. A lot of this sounds good. Is Joe Manchin gonna support it though? Who knows? But one area where I get a little bit mad at the press that's sort of uncritically pretending that this is an option. Now, in this case, it's Fox Business. Their goal is to scare people about what Biden might do. But one thing they want you to feel for sure is possibly gonna be included in this is the wealth tax. So Elizabeth Warren and other progressives unveiled legislation at the beginning of March that would tax the net worth of the wealthiest Americans. It's something that she's been talking about for a couple of years. The measure would impose a 2% annual tax on the net worth of US households above 50 million and would add an additional 1% levy on households worth more than 1 billion. And at that point, I mean, why even be rich, right? Anyway, so Janet Yellen was asked about this, the Treasury Secretary, and she said, that's something that we haven't decided yet and can look at. Now, no, I'm gleeful about being wrong about my predictions, but I feel pretty confident in this case. Joe Biden is not supporting, let alone pushing for, a wealth tax like that. And there ain't no way that Kristen Sinema, Joe Manchin, probably at least a half dozen others, if not a full dozen, are gonna support that. I love that she's talking about it, but the idea that like Janet Yellen's really doing the prep to put it into effect, Ben, I don't think so. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I wishful thinking. I don't mind going on, daydreams about how we could change this country, but that's a non-starter for definitely Sinema, definitely for Manchin, and probably a lot more Democrats who would be able to hide behind those committed, those 8 who voted against the $15 an hour. You can guarantee they would never support a wealth tax.
Yeah. Well, look, the thing about this is that we may question how much Biden is actually gonna push for this or how it would actually be done. Would it need to be reconciliation? Answer yes. Could it be? I don't know. Let's find out what the parliamentarian thinks. But what we do know is that a lot of this is very popular. Like these are among the most popular positions. Taxing the wealthy, providing tax relief for those who need it most. That's very popular. And so of course the Republicans are gonna be very much against it.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.